Good morning. I'm Elizabeth Littlefield, the President and CEO of the Overseas Private Investment Corporation, OPIC, which is the U.S. government's development finance institution. First off, I want to thank you all very much for inviting me to address you this morning at the third annual International Women's Leaders Summit. I'm really sorry that I'm unable to join you in Karachi, but it's a privilege to be able to talk to you all, even virtually. And actually, I can very much picture you all there as I was just in Karachi this past summer. So women's leadership is the kind of topic where no one woman has any more expertise than any other. In fact, the leadership of the women who are able to care for their families in conflict and in abject poverty is absolutely every bit as much leadership, if not more so, than the leadership of the woman head of state or the woman CEO. So for me, it is very humbling to address you here, as actually I'm only the expert of my own experience as a woman. I have been a woman for many, many years of my career in what often felt like a man's world, in investment banking, in development, at the World Bank, and even now in public service. In the early years, I was often the only woman at the table, kind of a novelty, kind of a token. And in fact, at JP Morgan in London, believe it or not, I was the only female bond trader on a trading floor of over 600 people. I used to dress up with ties and a gray suit to try to make myself look more like a man to be better accepted. And I remember that in meetings, I used to get interrupted so constantly and so many times, nobody else got interrupted but me, that I developed a habit of speaking very, very quickly in order to get all my words out before somebody could inevitably cut me off. I guess it wasn't a very effective strategy. Hopefully I've learned since then. But over time that has begun to change. And even over the course of my own career, it's been exciting to see those changes happening. I was very proud of what was revolutionary at the time, a reverse mentoring program, that I instituted at JP Morgan in Europe, that had the senior-most men agreeing to be mentored by women many levels their junior in different departments. And I have to say it was a big shock for everybody involved, both the women and the men. But in the end, it was a really successful initiative to make men understand, the senior men understand, that power and effectiveness, can come in many, many packages. It's all about diversity, right? So I'm excited to see so many women leaders and women entrepreneurs, like all of you here today, now all over the world, breaking through that infamous glass ceiling and rising above the notorious sticky floors. And at long last, I think we all know that we have now growing numbers of women heads of state, women parliamentarians, women CEOs, and women business owners of all sizes. So those numbers are growing, yes, but as we all know, they're growing way too slowly for what the world needs. Only 21% of parliamentarians today are female as of 2013, 21%? And many of those most important stakes have been made in emerging markets. The 18 women heads of state today represent only 9% of all of the country's heads of state throughout the world. And of the 1,000 of the world's biggest companies, the Fortune 1000, there are only 46 women CEOs at the helm. That's 46 out of 1,000. So those numbers are still pretty small. And yet, we know that at the same time, we have studies that pour out of universities and pour out of the World Bank, showing unequivocally and convincingly how societies that discriminate by gender have a much slower economic growth and much slower poverty reduction than those societies that treat males and females more equally. We also know that mountains and mountains of research suggest strongly that women leadership in businesses improves businesses' performance. In fact, one recent study that I love to cite showed that for public European companies with the highest level of gender diversity in the top management posts, those companies outperformed their sector in terms of return on equity in terms of operating results and in terms of stock price growth, much better than their peers. So, having lived and worked in emerging markets for most of my career, I have had the privilege of working alongside some of the most inspiring women leaders a person could ever hope to meet. Women like, women running huge organizations like Ilabat of the Self-Employed Women's Associations, SEWA, in Gujarat, to women running health clinics and one-room schoolrooms in Bangladesh, to women in Lahore juggling 3 or 4 mini enterprises and fetching wood and water while raising a family and educating them and keeping them healthy at the same time. It's incredible. And at CGAP, at the World Bank, and at OPEC, I've had the real honor of being able to work with extraordinary women, both alongside me and as clients, and also to work on those kind of interventions in the development sphere that truly can transform women's lives. Interventions like access to financial services, inclusive finance, microfinance. And I think we all know, and the world has now shown, how access to a safe place to save money outside the household, or the ability to borrow small lump sums of money or transfer money from an urban breadwinner to a rural family, means more diversified and increased incomes for women, which inexorably translates to greater investments in family welfare, to better health outcomes and education for children, and to more empowerment and greater involvement in community leadership by those women, all of which adds up to creating a ladder out of poverty for that generation and the next and the next and the next. At OPIC, we have a very important portfolio of billions of dollars in investments in the micro and small and medium enterprise sectors throughout the world. Most of those investments are focused on women clients. In our loan guarantee programs, for example, those loan guarantee programs are designed to encourage local banks in the Middle East and Turkey and elsewhere to lend SMEs, which they don't often do naturally. So in order to do so, we institute incentives that encourage those otherwise reluctant banks to lend especially to women-owned businesses. So we design incentives, for example, like we guarantee a higher percentage of those loans when they're made to women borrowers to encourage those loans. We've also made it a concerted effort to invest in other types of small and large infrastructure products and projects that directly benefit women. Projects like water transportation systems, drip irrigation systems, cleaner and more efficient cook stoves, investments in mobile cell phone banking, for example, or distributed energy systems and microgrids, all of which promise a pretty dramatic quality of life improvement for women and their families. Now, before I close, and since you're gathered in Karachi, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the growing work that we're very proud of that OPIC is developing in Pakistan. So as you know, OPIC is the U.S. government's development finance institution, and as such, our job is to stimulate and to catalyze foreign direct investment into sustainable economic development in developing countries, and in particular our key foreign policy priority partners such as Pakistan. And OPIC does that by providing investors with the loans and guarantees and risk insurance that those investments need in order to happen. Things that reduce risk, as well as things that create incentives to invest. And under the Obama administration and in Pakistan, we've worked very hard to boost our portfolio in Pakistan over 5-fold in only the past 2 or 3 years. That's a 5-fold increase in very important developmental projects throughout the country. I'll give you just a couple of examples of that portfolio, which is now almost $500 million. Those projects include projects in renewable energy, such as wind and biogas, in healthcare, transportation, agriculture, real estate, etc. And in fact, we're working now on an even larger number of projects totaling nearly $1 billion in new projects, which we dearly hope will come to fruition. So let me just give you a couple of examples from the Karachi area specifically. With OPIC's support, the Aga Khan Hospital in Karachi was recently renovated and expanded with a Center for Innovation in Medical Education, a child care center, a new wing that provides health care to poorer patients, as well as a state-of-the-art neonatal and intensive care unit to help new mothers. We're also working with very interesting investments in the power and renewable energy sector in and around Karachi, such as a 12-megawatt electrical power generation plant that's fueled and connected to the grid, fueled by agricultural waste from sugarcane and rice crops. And also, just this fall, we committed to two 50-megawatt wind power projects in the wind corridor in the Sindh province. But as I close, I want to just remind us that so far, none of our projects, none of OPIC's projects in Pakistan are women-owned or women-run. Now that's a problem and something I'd very much like to change. So you can help change it. And we know that women, when they take the reins of power, whether it be hard power or soft power, whether it be in business or in other forms of leadership, big things, good things are likely to happen. So the world is counting on you. And please know that I personally and OPIC more broadly stands ready to help you in any way we can realize your objectives of helping contribute to sustainable economic development in Pakistan and beyond. So I wish you a very, very successful, uplifting and productive summit, and I thank you again for the honor of talking to you today. Thank you.